Welcome to the Roadmap to Secure Love. In today's episode, Kim and Kyle discuss how to break free from resistance to change by setting boundaries to foster real change. Let's dive in. Well,
Do you find yourself stuck with your partner where you've been asking them to do things differently, trying to get them to change so you might feel safer, more connected, or more cared for, and yet seem to keep hitting a brick wall? Well, that's what today's episode is about. We're going to really unpack kind of why we are stuck in a pattern where we're pushing for changes, asking for changes, and why we're not getting movement, what's going on for you, what might be going on for your partner, and ways to start to see if we can create some change in that stuck dynamic.
Yeah, and this is a very hopeless kind of feeling. There's a lot of anxiety with it.
Mhm.
When you're asking for your partner to show up differently for the relationship, and they're not.
Yeah.
They're not doing the changes. They're not going to therapy. They're not asking for advice from other people. They're not reading the books. They're not doing the things.
Mm.
And you feel like, oh my gosh, how do I get them to get committed to make our relationship better? And all of the poking and all of the yelling and all of the crying and all of the withdrawing is not getting your partner to move.
Right.
That is a very, very hopeless feeling.
It is. And this is what's so hard is we are wanting change. We're wanting things to be different because if things were to change, we then feel safer, we feel more connected, we feel more loved, more supported, right? So it makes sense that in this kind of helpless place that what we might do with that is we might poke, we might send our partner books, we might recommend therapy, we might push for these things or tell them to do things differently and even get critical or judgmental of them to try to get something to change. But then that change does not happen.
Hmm.
And we go back to that helpless, desperate, okay, what do I do now? How do I make this different? I feel so alone. This isn't getting better. So let me do more and more and more and more and more. Let me send them the next podcast I listen to. Let me send them the next book or the next therapist or this other thing in hopes that finally they will change and they will get it.
Yeah. And yet they don't.
They don't. Why is that? Why is change not happening, Kim?
Man, there are so many different reasons. One of the things that, and I hate this statement that I'm about to say, but it is so true, but I hate it,
Mhm.
which is we cannot change somebody else.
Right.
We are only responsible for ourselves. And that is a truth. And it also feels inside myself, I feel like annoyed by it
Yeah.
because I'm like, if you could just see where we could be, if we could just see how this could be better, if you could just be tired like I am about how our relationship dynamics is struggling, then you would do the things and we would be better off.
Absolutely.
But I cannot change anybody else but me.
Hmm.
So the question then becomes, how do I become the best version of myself in this relationship?
Right.
What does that mean for me?
And that, again, is how do I show up as the most secure partner within myself and within this relationship is our best opportunity to see if we can create change. A lot of times in distress, when there's a lot of disconnection, when we're not feeling that support, we do try to get our partners to change. And sometimes that can work, but often it hits this wall, it hits this lack of movement, or they might change for a moment, right? Because you're being angry or you're being depressed, and they might go, oh my goodness, I got to do this now. But it doesn't sustain over time. And it's a
Right.
reactionary change, not a permanent change. And then we go back into that cycle and get stuck again. And so if we do focus on bringing our best self to the relationship and really creating as best we can a secure environment for the relationship for ourselves and our partners, what does that look like? How can we do that?
Oh my gosh, this is so difficult, right? Because what we're asking for is a release in the anxiety, but actually to do this, it's actually going to up our anxiety a little bit
Mhm.
because it means that we need to set boundaries that we can keep.
Right.
I'm not going to do the dishes. You said that you were going to do them, and we wait. And it's been a whole week, and the sink is starting to stink, and we have no plates.
Mhm.
Can we allow ourselves to be okay with that? To not step in and to overfunction, to go to the grocery store and get paper plates for
Mhm.
ourselves
Mhm.
until our partner can kind of show up in that way for us. And that might be an example that people are like, maybe it's dishes, right? But that applies to everything. It can apply to everything. What do I need from the relationship? What am I asking? And how do I not swoop in and overfunction for my partner?
Mhm. And that does go for a lot of areas of the relationship. If you and your partner to come to an agreement about them doing something, okay, I'm gonna pick up the kids, or hey, I'm gonna take care of this thing, I'm gonna do our taxes, I'm gonna do this other thing. Can you tolerate that they might fail?
No, I cannot deal with the anxiety, Kyle. It's too hard. And then that's when we get stuck in the cycle.
Mhm. Because when that anxiety drives us to try to get change and do more and more and more, it only repeats the same thing that we're caught in the first place, which is then we experience more and more resistance. And we got to think about this also, not just in the boundaries and what our responsibility is, which Kim and I need to talk a little bit more about, but also how is that functioning for the relationship? If
Mhm.
our partners say they're going to do something and they don't do it and we do it for them, we're sending them a message of, if you fall short, I'll pick it up.
Mhm.
So there's not really any consequences or reasons to stick to our word. If I say I'm going to do something, and yeah, you might be a little disappointed, but then you just take care of it. Okay,
Mhm.
that's in an insecure relationship where we're a little bit more selfish and we're not thinking about collaboratively how a relationship has to function, where both partners have to work together and we have to be mindful of what our partner needs and our partners to be mindful of what we need. If we don't have that healthy model of a secure relationship, if we underfunction, our partner overfunctions, that's kind of convenient for us.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, that resistance serves us in having to put in less effort or having to face a sense of shame or a sense of struggle or a sense of how hard doing things different might be. And
Yeah.
this is the other thing, right? Boundaries are going to really help us, but we also have to have some curiosity about what is the function of this resistance, right? When we function, the function of our criticism, the function of pushing our partner to change is all driven by our need to have a safe attachment in a safe environment where we feel like we're loved, seen, and we matter. Well, someone's resistance is also doing something similar in trying to keep them safe.
Mm.
And what we can do in our part that, the author of Secure Love talks about is create an attachment friendly environment where we replace criticism or stonewalling or defensiveness or blame with curiosity, empathy, understanding, and validation.
Mhm.
Right. And so that is bringing our best self. Well, how is this helping my partner? What is this doing for them? We might not get that answer. They might not have that answer. And that's okay. But our stance and being curious about that does give them space to maybe open up and start to talk about it.
Yes.
But they might not. They might not know. They might not have an idea behind that. And so then that brings us back to our boundaries.
Yeah. And taking care of ourselves.
Mhm.
When people say, my partner won't go to therapy with me, and you keep asking, you keep asking, you keep asking, my response is that I'm going to take myself to therapy. I'm going to figure out what my role is in this relationship. I'm going to figure out, do I want to stay or do I not?
Right.
I'm going to get the support that I need to thrive.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean I stop asking my partner to show up to therapy or to come. But if they say no, then I'm going to do what I need to do for myself.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go out and I'm going to get myself personal therapy. Or I'm going to join a book club to make friends. Or I'm going to go to bingo by myself in order to expand if I'm lonely.
Right. The same needs you have that you're trying to get in your relationship, if you're not able to get them within your relationship, there are ways to get that other places.
Yeah.
As long as you're clear about your boundaries. Hey, I'm feeling lonely. I'm not getting connection here. We're just getting I'm just feeling disconnected. I'm gonna go spend more time with my friends. I'm gonna go spend more time socializing because that's what I need to feel safe and connected in this world.
I think that's an important part, Kyle. It's not just going out with your friends
Mhm.
and just doing it, right? It's saying to your partner, hey, I'm feeling disconnected. You said you didn't want to hang out today. So I just want you to know that I'm going to go out with my friends today because I need this connection for myself.
Right.
If we do a move, like going out with some friends, and don't say why we're doing that,
Mhm.
and we just hide it, all we're doing is just putting up more walls between us and our partner.
Mhm.
So we have to be clear about it.
Right.
It's okay that you don't want to go to therapy. I need help, so I'm going to go to therapy.
Mhm.
Okay, if you don't want to go out to the movies with me, I'm really lonely and I want to go see this movie. So I'm going to go out with so and so.
Mhm. And if we go back to that dishes, you said I heard you say that you were gonna do the dishes. It's been 4 days. So I got plastic plates for me to eat on because I'm giving you space to hold to your word.
Yes. So it's not just doing it, it's being overt
Mhm.
with what you need, that the need is not being met. And this is what you're going to do to take care of yourself. And we don't want to be vicious about it. We don't want to say, well, since you're not going to go with me to the movie, I guess I'm going to be going with somebody else. We don't want to be passive aggressive,
Mhm.
but we do want to be clear.
Why is it so important to be clear for our partners?
Well, for our partners, they need to know why we're doing what we're doing. They also need to know that we're not withdrawing from them because we don't want to be with them. We're doing something to take care of ourselves. So when we're silent with our partners and we don't tell them overtly what our moves are, our partner can create a story in their head. That story might be correct or it might not be correct.
Mhm.
So it's important to say exactly what your intentions are. So a story is not being built that you don't want to be built, that is not your truth, that actually then brings walls
Right.
between you and your partner, more walls that you didn't intend.
Mhm. Because this is the same thing that shows up for us. If our partner says they're going to do something and they don't, if we don't understand why they didn't, we fill in the blank. That's what your brain's going to do. Same thing for them. If you just go and do something, they're going to just fill in the blank without knowing why you're doing it. And that often leads to more disconnection, more miscommunication, more assumptions that pull us farther apart rather than clarity, understanding, and the hope of closeness.
You see this with friendships too.
Mhm.
Friendships, they think, oh, my friend's mad at me, so I'm just going to give them space. And then later when they talk, the friend's like, why did you withdraw from me? Were you angry with me? And the other friend's like, no, I wasn't angry with you. I thought you were angry with me and I just needed space. Well, I didn't need space. I need you closer. Well, look. And before you know it, we're totally missing each other.
Mhm.
If we were just overt and said, I'm a little angry, I need some space. Can you give it to me?
Right.
Or it seems like you're angry. Are you?
Mhm.
Because I want to give you space if you need time.
Mhm.
solves a whole bunch of communication issues if we just are overt and own what we're thinking and what we're doing.
And what's beautiful if we are connecting why we're doing what we're doing and putting up boundaries and sticking to the anxiety that's going to come up when we put up boundaries and not over functioning, we're getting the reality of the relationship. We're giving our relationship the chance for it to grow and change into ways that would feel more secure for both partners, or a reality of actually, I am not getting the needs met that are really core for me to feel safe and secure here. I have put my best effort into getting this change and it's not changing. And so then to take care of myself, I might have to leave this relationship.
Yeah. So a secure self creates secure relationship.
Mhm.
I love that. So, I mean, and we have had people call in and or write us, Kyle, and say, what do I do? How do I get my partner to participate in therapy? They're withdrawing.
Mhm.
And that is a helpless feeling.
Absolutely.
That's a terrible feeling.
It's yucky. It's like, why can't I'm doing all the right things, following the
All
textbook.
the right things. Yeah.
I'm being
And they
vulnerable.
don't care. Yeah, they don't care.
Mhm.
So our answer to that is number one is to do what you need for yourself,
Mhm.
but to be clear about it.
Mhm.
You don't want to go to therapy? I'm going to go to therapy.
Mhm.
You don't want to go to the movies? I'm going to go to the movies with some girlfriends
Mhm.
because I need connection,
Mhm.
right? It's with the boundaries and clarity and self care that you can begin to change the way that the pattern in the family works or in the friendship or any kind of relationship works.
Mhm. Absolutely. And this is one of the things that's so powerful about attachment theory is we look at the relationship as a system, as a dynamic, as a dance. Right? That's what Dr. Sue Johnson talked about and Hold Me Tight. Relationship is a dance. We can't change how our partner dances. We can change how we dance. We can change how we step. We can change how we move. Inevitably, that is going to give us two things. It's going to give our partner space to change how they dance with us, or evidence that the rhythm of our dance cannot actually function together in creating the safety and security that we each need, and that we might have to make different choices.
Absolutely.
And this is what we're asking you to do is really hard and really scary, to set up boundaries, to tolerate, to let your partner fail in not showing up and giving them that space and tolerating that anxiety as you sit in that, because that's a heck of a lot harder than over functioning and just taking care of it and just taking care of the thing that you needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet, if we can do this, it gives us the chance to really understand where the relationship is at. It gives us to do our part to create space for growth to occur within ourselves and within the relationship, and lets us sit with the reality of the relationship as it is today.
Yeah. People long for homeostasis. They long for things that are calm. So here is like the relationship,
Mhm.
right? Even if it's dysfunctional, if we're on the same page, there's comfort.
Mhm.
But if I start working on myself and I start changing the system,
Mhm.
this part of the system is going to go, what? There's a couple of things that will happen. Number one, I move down because I want things to stay the same and it's too hard.
Mhm.
But if I decide, I'm not going to do that, the system will meet me.
Mhm.
Or the system will say, we're too different.
Right.
But I've got to move and I've got to stay where how I want the relationship to be
Mhm.
in order for any change to occur.
Right. And what's so powerful, what you're saying is like in a secure relationship, both partners show up best self and they really work together. as bringing their best selves. And for example, an anxious avoidant relationship, that is also a very stable relationship because each partner is functioning differently, but still creating a similar homeostasis, even though it doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
Right? One partner is over functioning, one partner might be under functioning. It's in that way we create stability, right? But it doesn't create security in the relationship. And so if we can shift our part in that, our part in the dance, and really grow and do things that we need for ourselves that could and can benefit the relationship, it gives it the best chance for growth to occur.
100%. So own your moves, work on yourself, create a boundary, and be willing to sit in the anxiety to change the system.
That wraps up today's episode. Here are the key takeaways. 1. Focus on self-growth. 2. Set clear boundaries. 3. Communicate directly. 4. Embrace the discomfort of things not changing immediately. And 5. Encourage mutual change. Remember, change starts within and creates space for growth in your relationship. Thanks for joining us on the roadmap to secure love. Until then, stay connected and keep listening with love.